D-Day for the Cane Creek double barrel coil. I've pretty much bought all the O-rings, there's some more there, to rebuild this entire double barrel coil. And with the money that I saved, I've got O-rings for a inline shock which I need to service as well, which is going to be in another video. This cap needs to get taken off with either Cane Creek specific tool, or you can get these snap O-ring pliers. This only cost me $15, which is a bargain of the century, and the pliers fit into these holes perfectly, and it didn't take much to undo that. Actually, first you want to depressurize this reservoir here. So that's this end cap sits like that, held by a C-clip. This is a 25, or maybe the one size smaller, a T20. Torx, which can undo that. With your shock pump, if you've got a attachment, a needle attachment, you feed it through this seal and you can depressurize it. This seal is rubber, and the way it works is when you fit the needle through, the needle's hollow, you can take out air or you can put air in, and when you take out the needle, the rubber is going to collapse on itself and actually make the seal. So that's that. So you want to depressurize this first, and once that happens, you can undo this to bleed the system. To take this out, I believe it's a M4 thread, and I've got a bolt, obviously M4, which I was able to feed it in, I was able to pull it out. Now this IPF, I've taken the seal off that's not how it usually looks, but this IPF sits in there, and again you need the bolt to screw it in so you can take it out. Now one thing to make note is that the piston is sitting in there, and you should measure how far it is in. I have got another screw and I've put some bolts on there, and I set at a distance to show how far the IPF is supposed to go in there. So make sure you do that. So once you take out the IPF, you can drain this section as well. There could be some trapped oil there, and you should also undo these rebound and compression knobs to get rid of the oil that could be trapped in there as well. Now, I filled a little bit of hydraulic oil in the main chamber, and I filled this up the reservoir right to the top. Now this is going to fluctuate a little bit because obviously this wants to roughly even out with this, so you might need to add some or take away. But once you get it up to the top and it's slightly overflowing, you want to get the IPF piston in there and move it from side to side rather than just straight pushing it down, so then any trapped air on the sides will actually be drawn out. Now when you do that, you can imagine that all the oil is going to flow downwards, and hopefully inside all these rebound adjustments and cavities in there. And once that's done, got my pliers, and I've just been moving it up and down, so I'll be cycling the shock. It's a little bit tricky to do one hand, but so obviously when I pull the IPF out, the oil in the main reservoir is going to go up, and then when I pull it back, it's going to get drawn down. And this actually might be a better way than with the syringe, because we've got already a perfect seal here that the IPF is making contact with the hydraulic fluid, so there's no air trap there at all. Now any air trapped here, with this being moved up and down, will most likely be pushed out through there and gone up through the main chamber. Air is less dense than liquid, so it will always rise. I'm pretty positive that this should be a pretty good bleed. I'm going to put everything back together, and I'm going to cycle the shock and just listen to if there's any air inside, and if that is going to be successful, I'm going to show that in the next step. Otherwise, if there is going to be some trapped air, I'm going to put on all the caps on here, seal it up, and I'll get the syringe and I'll flip the shock around, I'll connect up the syringe and try to create a vacuum to withdraw any of the trapped air. And another point that I want to make, this inner tube I have taken out just to not create any voids in there for air to get trapped. And then the actual main piston, I've put it inside oil because there's a lot of spaces in there that air can get trapped, so having it in the shock oil is probably a good idea before actually installing it. Yeah, so I'm all done. The caps fitted on. I pumped it up. When you take out the needle, there's going to be a slight loss, so just pump it up a little bit extra. Now for the true test. Oh, it's pretty hard. And it went up perfectly, so it looks like it's all done. Just watch this IPF here, because when you're going to be pushing and screwing this in, the IPF can slightly rise. So if it does rise, undo this, push the IPF a little bit further down. Some liquid will come out of here, then try it again and do that once or twice or a few times and make sure the IPF is at the right height, and pump it up with a shock pump, and it should be hopefully as good as new. Hopefully that's useful. Good luck. Here's the final product. Shock's back on the bike. Runs pretty perfect. All the settings are on the open, so I'm going to have to adjust that to my preferences, but this shock feels smooth and feels perfect. Now I'm just going to go for a ride up and down the street, dial it in, and if there's no leaking or if there's any cavities I can hear inside, I'll take it out into the hills ready to shred again.